Hey everybody, welcome back into the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. It is Snap Judgments scrimmage style. That is Bill Landis, Jeremy Birmingham, and I am Austin Ward. Spring practice number 5, done for Ohio State. I don't know that it was really as game-like as maybe advertised or desired, but there was some of that for Ohio State. So what all did we learn from watching?
The score was what, 98 to 96?
Yeah.
102 to 100.
It got to triple digits.
So it was not game-like.
I hope you smashed the over.
Definitely hit the over. I don't know what the spread was, but the offense won by 2. They did like some situational stuff that I thought was instructive. The end got fairly competitive when the offense scored twice and Ryan Day was like, no. And then made them, I guess, run one more play for Dallin Hayden to score what was the decisive touchdown of the competitive scrimmage period.
Yeah, I think, and Kyle McCord confirmed this walking off, that he thought they scored 4 times in the final drive, which they did.
Because the play down there.
Yeah, and they had the touchdown throw where he was ruled a sack. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You guys didn't get to see that. The point is, the offense scored a lot of points late when it mattered. The defense really controlled the early part of the day, but as they grew into it, you could see, Kyle McCord, I thought, really played with a lot of energy. I thought that he had the better day of the 2 quarterbacks. Everyone can evaluate it as they wish. Ryan Day's the only one that matters how he evaluates it, and he tapped the brakes on that a little bit. Still a lot of rotation between both Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, but I thought there was somebody who was clearly ahead in my book.
I mean, I don't know that I saw it that way, especially watching early in the scrimmage. They did some red zone stuff in this end zone behind us, and the defense won 11-1. So 12 reps, and the defense won 11 of them. That was not ideal. Both quarterbacks were, you could tell, a little tight early in the scrimmage. I do agree. I think towards the end of the scrimmage, you saw McCord, I think, take a step up. And at that point, they were rotating them, not like Kyle with the 1s and Devin with the 2s. It was just every other. So they both had a number of reps with all the, best offensive linemen, best wide receivers that were available. And I think Kyle played a cleaner day, but there's still a lot of good things to see out of Devin. I think a lot of these guys are just about settling down and not getting so wound up. There was a couple times where Devin's out of the pocket and then they blow a whistle, and you think if that's a real game situation, it's probably a much bigger play than, it's not a sack because no one touched him. So, other than that, I mean, the player of the day to me that really stood out was Dallin Hayden. I just like what I see out of him when he's running the ball. They didn't do a lot of run stuff, but a couple times he really showed that he's put some time in the weight room. He absolutely bowled over Jihad Carter on the 3rd down play that put the offense in position on their final drive. And that was sort of the highlight to me, just seeing the physical transformation in him and then seeing it applied on the field.
So at the end of the scrimmage, it was not like a full-on scrimmage for 2 hours. It's interspersed between individual periods and teach periods. But at the last scrimmage period, Kyle and Devin each got 4 drives, 1 each or 2 each with the first team and the second team. Kyle led 2 touchdown drives and a field goal drive. Devin led 1 touchdown drive and a field goal drive. I don't know if that means a whole lot, but like Ryan Day wants to see that, right? He wants to see who was eventually leading the team into the end zone. I thought it was good to see Devin, who I agree looked a little tight earlier on, throw a really nice ball to Caleb Brown for, was it a touchdown or like down to the goal line?
Down to the goal line.
Down to the goal line, and then they ran it in. Really nice touch pass. But I was pretty impressed with Kyle's movement ability. I know that's the thing that he believes that he has that people don't talk about a lot or think that's a thing that Devin has as an edge on him. And Berm's probably right. In a game setting, Devin can probably show a little more of that. But in terms of just movement in the pocket, evading some rush, getting out on the edge and throwing the ball accurately, wasn't perfect, but I was more impressed with Kyle McCord than I thought I would be.
Yeah, I mean, we can only control what we cover about this team, right? But if there are people out there that were skeptical about Kyle McCord's ability and thinking that it was as simple as Devin Brown is the more athletic quarterback and Kyle McCord is a statue, I think the things that were on display today for anybody paying attention should probably disabuse that notion pretty strongly. I think Kyle, there was one point in that scrimmage where he stepped up into a pocket. He only had to be touched. He evaded that stepping up, got out to the right, and then hit a throw on the run, moving to his right. He had a designed run in the red zone. I thought that he didn't get touched. He thought he scored, threw the ball to the ceiling to celebrate that score. I mean, they were doing all the things that you would expect the Ohio State offense to do with Kyle McCord. I thought he did that well. It's not necessarily a surprise to me because I think that some of the gap between the athleticism has been overblown between those two. But I mean, it's also one day, so I'll try not to put too much stock into it, even though I already said that I think Kyle McCord has a clear edge.
I think you also have to put some stock into who was blocking for them at the time, like throughout the day.
For sure.
Because the difference between the Ohio State first-team offensive line and the second-team offensive line is probably the biggest gap of any position on this team. I think I say that fairly comfortably. The gap between those groups is very large, so that changes things a lot. But overall, I don't think you can look at this scrimmage and say, well, Kyle McCord's the guy or Devin Brown's not the guy. I mean, I think there's a lot of things. I think for Ryan Day's sake, it's probably best that they both had moments of good and bad.
And they did. Yeah.
You don't really want, I think, to have everyone in here and go, well, that's the guy, this thing's over.
Yeah.
Because it's not true, and you don't want that narrative even being started because it's not accurate.
I think that's why they design practice the way they do, with you're going out with the ones and then you're flip-flopping. Everybody's getting an equal opportunity. I don't think that's going to stop. It's probably going to carry all the way through April 15th, and then you reassess from there if you need to change the reps in August. There's no benefit now to just say, well, we're already making that decision and Kyle's only going with the ones from now on. I don't expect that to happen.
No, because I think you'd be, one, doing yourself a disservice as a team, as a coach trying to evaluate it, but two, you don't know what that does to someone's psyche as they're trying to get better every practice. Like, they don't need to know who the starting quarterback is right now. So keep evening those reps up, see who grows and how. I like you mentioned, Kyle throwing the ball to the roof after he scored that touchdown. When Devin threw that ball to Caleb Brown, he pivoted and turned directly to the defensive sideline and gave him the first down signal. So, they both got a little bit of juice to them, which I enjoyed seeing.
I'm a little bit surprised that Berms, the first name he mentioned was Dallin Hayden, because Cameron Martinez had one of the best scrimmage performances of anybody on defense.
Yeah, he looked comfortable. I think in general, we've heard a lot of talk in the first couple weeks of spring practice about the defensive backs and how active they've been with their hands, and we certainly saw that today. There was a lot of deflected passes, a lot of stuff from Jordan Hancock, from Denzel Burke, from Davison Igbinosun, from Cam, from Sonny Styles. I mean, Lathan Ransom almost inadvertently knocked G. Scott's head off on one play. G caught the ball. Stood up and first downed it in his face, dabbed the first down in his face. And, I really liked what I saw in the secondary. I think you go back to last August and you realize just how unfair the expectations were heading into the season because we didn't know how injured everyone was. And maybe that'll be the case come this August. But right now, when they're healthy, it looks like a much different group in the secondary. And I think something that people can be optimistic about. It was Lathan Ransom, Josh Proctor, and Cam Martinez out there with the first team defense every time. There was no changing that around. Sometimes they switched Igbinosun and a Hancock, or Igbinosun and Burke, which I like. Yep. But I think what we saw out of those three safeties was pretty encouraging.
I was surprised to see that it looked like when they were doing walkthrough stuff and in team stuff, that Lathan Ransom was more in that bandit position that walks up to the line of scrimmage, and Josh Proctor was more in that adjuster position that plays back a good deal, because I would have assumed it'd be flip-flop. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Josh has such great closing speed and range that if he's seeing the whole field correctly, he doesn't have to make that initial decision at the line of scrimmage. I think it better suits him.
I don't know. I think I could probably make a case either way. I like Josh Proctor's ability to play, middle of the field, center fielder, go close on some deep balls. But I think it's probably, I would have thought it'd be better to just, here's your assignment and go do it and play in the box against the run more. I don't know. I think Ohio State just really wants him out on the field and is trying to find something that it knows he can consistently and confidently do over and over. So picking one is more important than which one it might actually be.
Yeah, and if we come out here on Tuesday, it could be flipped. I think the way that Jim Knowles does it is he wants to be hyper-focused on one thing for one practice and then move on to something else for the next practice. So, and obviously in the game too, they'll rock and roll those guys. Like Ronnie Hickman and Lathan did that in games too. So I don't want to make too much of it, but that Josh was doing the deep safety stuff at all, I thought was interesting, because I don't know that I would have guessed that. And I can't recall if Sonny Styles was out there with the ones. I want to say that there were points where he was. So I don't want people to hear that and think, well, where's Sonny playing?
Sonny was on the field a lot.
Sonny was out there a lot. I don't want to say made a play, but an underthrown ball hit him in the back of the head on a play where he had good coverage. Came up flying up to the line, an inside run, made some impressive plays that you expect to see that. I thought Steele Chambers had a good practice during the third down period. I can't remember if it was 3 successive plays, but it was 3 plays in relatively short order. He had a sack He blew up a tunnel screen to Marvin Harrison Jr., and then he had a near interception in the middle of the field. So he was showing up in a big way.
Yeah, I liked who else did I think really flashed out there? I mean, JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer are good. And also
you could just see a totally different Jack Sawyer when you're at the defensive line, I'm telling you.
And I don't know how much stock to put into, one day and not actually having to bring him to the ground, but JT especially was all over the place. And, sometimes you just, he was out there against Zen Mahalski, and, Zen played a lot with that first unit. He's not going to face a lot of guys like JT when the season rolls around. Maybe that's an iron sharpens iron situation, and he can grow from that. But it was not a fair matchup against those two today. And that also, to Berm's point earlier, can skew some of the results when you're looking at the quarterback, because those guys are just going to collapse the pocket.
He should be glad his name is Zen. That's what I'm saying. Because he has to go home tonight and find it and be like, that was JT Tuimoloau. It's not the biggest deal. Yeah. I'm going to get better from this.
I'll throw him a bone. I was watching pass rush 1-on-1s while they were doing 7-on-7 down here, and Zen did have a really good rep where he won against Jack Sawyer.
Well, there you go.
I think we don't really know what to make of play calling and that sort of stuff, but I wonder how much that little stretch at the end where they ran 4 touchdowns in 6 plays is Brian Hartline getting tested by Ryan Day. So, nope, try it again. Try it again. Try it again. You're in the red zone and okay, here you better score 4 touchdowns out of these
next
4
different
plays.
red zone scenarios figured out.
And to the credit of whoever's calling the plays, we don't know if it was Hartline or not, but they scored on him and did it.
Well, Ryan Day didn't even have a headset on, so
yeah, we'll see.
Which is interesting in its own right, and he was roaming a little bit. He was still drifted toward those quarterbacks for sure, but just seeing him with no headset when they're out here calling plays live was took me back
a little unusual.
Yeah.
Did we give Jaden Ballard enough credit for his performance yet?
No, and I don't.
Good.
It's just I don't know what to make of it. I mean, the reality is
he cooked Jordan Hancock on a double move.
He absolutely destroyed Jordan Hancock on a double move for a 50-yard touchdown. They went to 50-yard drills where it's live action.
Yeah, Kyle McCord only got 1 snap. Come on.
and he threw an absolutely perfect ball, and Jaden was about 10 yards open. And we talked about it after Pro Day. If he can bring that to this offense, it is a game changer for the Ohio State offense.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 30 plays a game. He doesn't have to be a starting wide receiver. He just needs to be able to give you 10, 12, 14 reps a game where you can put him out there and stretch the defense, and it changes things for everybody. Because Marvin Harrison, because he's so good, is going to receive so much attention this year, and Kyle McCord or Devin Brown are going to be trying not to force the ball to Marvin, and you have to have somebody who can just stretch the field to help open that up.
I almost feel like that was part of the issue during the red zone period early in the scrimmage, was that Marvin was more active in that than he was as the scrimmage went on. They're like, Marvin, stay out. He didn't do anything in the final 4 drives at all. All right, well, he's out there. Let's look that way. And Cam Martinez broke up 1 ball that should have never been thrown. The coverage was good. And just well, there's Marvin. I'm going there right away. I think that happened a little bit too much early on. I don't know if Brian Hartline and Ryan Day are well, we want to fight that in practice sessions. Don't put him out there. Make sure that you're just going through it and you're not going to rely on that security blanket, because I can understand how tempting that would be
for
as
sure.
a quarterback.
Yeah,
as good as he is.
During one of the scrimmage periods, I was thinking in the back of my head, man, I bet these guys hate when they go out there and they look to the sideline and Marvin's not there. It's it's the ultimate security blanket. It's a cheat code. It's I don't even evaluate the reps when Marvin's on the field, because the ball's going there and he's going to catch it 9 times out of 10. One more point on Jaden Ballard, because Ryan Day did not talk a whole lot of specifics afterwards when we talked to him. I think by design, he doesn't want to say anything out of turn and make somebody think that the depth chart's set already. But he was asked about Jaden Ballard specifically, and the one thing he said is you have to remember that Jaden came in with Marvin and Emeka, and those guys are awesome. And I think there was a little bit of a mental hurdle for Jaden to get over, to realize that he is also good. Maybe he's not as good as Marvin Harrison or Emeka Egbuka. He doesn't have to be. He can still be a really good football player, even if he's something short of that. And I think maybe that's starting to click for him, where he's realizing ways he can help the team.
Confidence. And that confidence was no doubt boosted on Wednesday, hearing NFL people go, who the heck is that guy? Mm-hmm. And then you bring it out here today, and you absolutely cook Jordan. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's Jordan Hand cook.
Yeah, and Jordan had a couple PBUs. It's not one bad play does not make a bad practice. And I don't know, it was a really good route. Yeah. That happens. There's good players on both sides of the ball.
Wow,
how about that?
That team's on scholarship too.
Yep, the other team's on scholarship too. Yeah.
Defensive line. I mean, obviously you mentioned Jack and JT. I thought that Michael Hall You can see the quickness is sort of where it was last.
He put on a
September.
show during the pass rush drill.
He is not easy to block.
You were down there, right?
Yeah, that was not good what we watched. And it was Vic Cutler who was just unfortunately the victim.
He
in that
just happened to be the
situation.
guy in front of him. Yeah.
I don't think it would have mattered who it was, but the first step in an arm rip was just like, wow, that's quick. And then we saw like the next rep, who was it just got pulled over.
I think it was Austin Saravel.
It wasn't ideal. Saravel, to his credit, bounced back and then won the next rep. But it's been, I think, and when that was 20-20, so between the offensive line and defensive line, and then they played one rep with Tyleek versus Donovan Jackson, and Donovan Jackson won it easily to win the drill for the offense. But I thought that would be a bigger gap.
Yeah, if you told me they were lining up doing pass rush, who's going to win, I would say defense and probably wouldn't think twice about it. It was pretty good back and forth. Josh Fire had 2 awesome reps against JT Tuimoloau, won them both. Luke Montgomery looked really good in that situation, going against threes. So, the offensive line is, I don't want to say it's farther ahead, but in that particular situation, they performed better than I would have assumed.
I think I'm a little bit puzzled, I guess, by Larry Johnson was asked about the depth of the defensive line on Thursday, and the first thing he said was, I think we're good at defensive tackle. And I don't know if that's just meant to inspire confidence in those top 3, but there is not enough depth at defensive tackle right now. I think that they need somebody else to come in. I think we know who that could be.
Well, we talked about Tank Booker from Maryland as a potential addition, but you also have to remember that the country's number 1 ranked defensive tackle, according to Rivals, Jason Moore, will be here in a month. Caden McDonald will be here in a month. So
Will Smith is not practicing.
Will Smith is not practicing. So you are missing. You signed 3 defensive tackles, and none of them are here yet. So
it's hard as a true freshman, though, and I do believe the coaching cliche: the closer you are to the football, the no longer it's going to take you to get out there. And they really only seem to have confidence in those 3. So again, I'm a little bit baffled by why there was so much confidence projected. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way, but I think seeing it out here in a scrimmage setting where they really have to rotate those top 3 guys through both units to get through that practice, and then having Jaden McKenzie as the 4th.
And Hero Canoe out there. So
you
have 5 guys that can get out there, but it's certainly not ideal. But then doesn't that play to what we were saying, like just play your best guys?
Well, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, but you don't want to.
I'm not trying to have it both ways.
Right.
I don't think you can get through a season with just those 3. We saw that with Mike Hall a year ago. I mean, and Ty Hamilton didn't come on until the second half of the year, and Tyleek Williams, by his own admission on Thursday, talked about still trying to find his way into shape, and that he came and was lazy. That's not real encouraging stuff for me.
You just need one of these young guys to step up, or if you are able to find a Tank Booker in the transfer portal, or the kid from Minnesota who just went into the transfer portal on Friday, whose name escapes me, who's a second-team Ball Big Ten player, really good.
How are they doing this? They're not allowed.
There are no rules. Doesn't matter.
They're announcing their intention to.
There
go
are
to the
3
portal.
guys that are playing right now, but by the time June rolls around, they should have an 8-man depth chart at that position. So someone just has to step up.
I think you need 4 that you feel confident to put into a game, and I think they have 3, which is probably the simplest way to put it. And maybe the 4th will come from this group.
Yeah,
I would bet against it.
I'm not going to bet against it because I am team Caden McDonald in a way that
he's a different build.
Is uncomfortable for it's the Caden Curry sort
He's
of.
He's got a Caden McDonald tattoo.
I'm telling you that he is that type of disruptor in the middle, and he's going to be different than anyone.
Are there just certain names that you gravitate towards?
I don't know.
He loves a Caden.
The
guy can't resist the Caden.
Give me a Cameron. Give me a Caden.
I'm telling you, Caden McDonald, I will not be surprised if he's in the rotation by the time we hit October. He's different, disruptive-wise.
Like it.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm continuing to be team chip train him. I think that there's a role for him on this offense. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it all plays out when you have Travion Henderson back and Mayan Williams actually involved or Evan Pryor involved. But the guy is really explosive when he touches the football, and nobody seems to want to tackle him. And that to me is the good thing, right? Because a good running back, you don't want to tackle. An average running back, you're like, okay, I can tackle that guy. And that's why I'm so impressed with Dallin Hayden, because he's turning himself into a guy who out here, it didn't look like people wanted to tackle him.
He is sturdier, more sturdy.
His pants continue to fall down.
Oh, get the guy a belt.
We need to get a Dallin Hayden a belt if we can find one. But other than that, I mean, the whole running back room just looks like they have a different, like I'm gonna F you up type of.
Yeah, like well, I think you're right. If you knew nothing, if Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams and Evan Pryor just didn't exist, we knew nothing about them, and the two guys we saw out here, Chip Trainum and Dallin Hayden, were Ohio State's running backs, I think you'd feel fine. But they have three other guys that need to get the ball, so I don't know what they're going to do.
We'll see. There's still a long way to go. This is only practice number 5 for Ohio State and scrimmage number 1. They have 10 more days to go before they wrap up with the spring exhibition next month in the Horseshoe. We'll have full coverage, of course, as we roll along at ohiostate.rivals.com and on the podcast here on YouTube. That's Bill and Berm. Thanks for joining us for Snap Judgments. I'm Austin Ward. We'll talk to you again on Monday morning.